you know, I've never seen my wife as woke as she was for the women's boxing card on Friday night on Showtime. Usually, and Rachel's a big boxing fan, but Rachel's also a sleepy boxing fan. So unless it's Gotti Ward, you know, unless it's like Riddick Bowe and Evander Holyfield going toe-to-toe, then Rachel's probably going to fall asleep after about 1.5 rounds.
Because boxing comes on late.
Right. And we had a really good card for women's boxing. Probably the best women's boxing card I've seen in a very long time. And we keep up with women's boxing as much as we can. And the setup is this. What we want to see in women's boxing, what Showtime wants us to see, is Christina Hammer, middleweight champion, and Claressa Shields, who calls herself the greatest woman of all time. So it's a super fight, right? And so they have this card where Christina Hammer faces Tori Nelson for her belts, Hammer's belts, the middleweight belts, a couple of alphabet titles. And we also saw Claressa Shields fight Hannah Gabriels. Gabriels is a junior middleweight champion, but moved up to middleweight. They fought for a couple vacant alphabet titles. So what we had was just a smorgasbord of women's middleweight action of 4 really good women fighters, I think. 4 women's fighters that I want to see, women boxers. And I was really impressed with all 4 women on the card. I think it's hard in women's boxing right now because there's such a vast difference between the talent levels of the women that fight.
Well, so you have the women at the top, and then you have the very next level isn't here, it's here.
Right.
So, there's belt holders that are not skilled boxers out there.
Yeah, and I think with the change with the amateur system now, we have more women now. So we're going to have a whole new crop. And Shields is like the first of that, this new crop of women fighters that are able to compete in global amateur events and stuff like that. So it's exciting for women's boxing.
Yeah.
And
so Friday we had 2 women's fights, right? And
they were the main events of that card. Which was awesome.
Yeah, they were it was a double header, right? Double co-main event. There you go.
Yeah.
And both of the favorites won by unanimous decision.
They did.
And their fights respectively.
Hammer defeated Nelson by unanimous decision. She won pretty much every round against Nelson.
Yeah.
And Shields, after being knocked down in the first round, won. It was a little wide on the cards, but again, it was a pretty close fight. I really thought.
It was early on.
Yeah. Shields, her quality definitely proved itself over the length of the bout. She was definitely the better fighter. But really, high level, excellent action, and just a good boxing card. I thought I really enjoyed watching those, especially those 2 main events.
And so before we get into, because obviously we're going to talk about Christina Hammer and Claressa Shields. Before we get into that, I kind of wanted just to talk about their opponents on Friday night. I was really surprised because it's women's boxing, and so for me, my normal expectation is, especially now that we've gotten to see Claressa fight on TV a few times, is that her opponent is not going to be very good. And not only is there just going to be a talent deficit, disparity between Claressa and her opponent, but her opponent might come in and you might be like, where did they find this person? Maybe some wild, wide punches, and when you can see somebody get in the ring and it's they have no business being in a boxing ring. So that's what I've come to expect in women's boxing, and we've been to some local cards that have had women fighters. And seen very much the same thing.
Disparity of
it's
skill.
Not
it's not talent, it's skill. It's that one set of women have put in a lot of work in the gym, and the other women maybe
trained,
didn't have that available to them.
And the other woman maybe
just tough,
gets in a lot of fights, and they're that kid in high school that would just brawl all the time is that kind of person. But Hannah Gabriels. I was really impressed, and I remember when I saw the weigh-in photo between her and Shields, I was like, huh, I think that she's going to bring, she doesn't look like your typical female boxer that you might see. And then she came in the ring and they started fighting. I mean, like she knocked Shields down in round 1. I really liked the way that she looked. She didn't have the endurance to fight rounds 2 through 10. I did right in women's boxing, it's 10 rounds for championship fights. I think that it is. She didn't have, 2 through the end. She didn't have the endurance to fight the whole fight the way she did round 1.
Yeah, I think that for me, Hannah Gabriels really opened my eyes to the quality level of women fighters that are out there. I didn't really know who she was before she was fighting Claressa. I saw the weigh-in photo and I was like, that girl looks pretty swole. Like, she looks pretty legit. But, like, I've seen other people that look legit that aren't legit. And as soon as she came out and started fighting, I was like, holy crap. Like, she is an excellent, excellent fighter. She reminded me, the way she fights, a lot of Miguel Cotto. Like, she was that good. Like, that's what I'm saying, that, like, the way that she fought. And it was just amazing to see. And so it, like, it's hard to follow women's boxing in today's world. There's just not a lot of television opportunities for them. But wow, she was an excellent fighter. She deserves, if we can get her back on TV, I want to see her fight. She was really a great fighter.
And Shields, like, together, like,
that was a good fight.
The same, like, it was just a good fight.
Yeah.
So that was really nice to see. The other opponent for the evening was Tori Nelson, who we also saw was Claressa Shields' opponent in an earlier fight and was televised.
I love Tori Nelson.
So Tori Nelson, what I see there is a woman who's older,
35, I think.
has some like skill. But here's what I love about Tori Nelson: that she gets in that ring and fights.
She fights her ass off.
But like, she is so honest. Like I like her pre-fight interview with Steve Farhood. Like, she just seems like she's got like a great heart. Like, she's a really like nice, kind person. But like, she gets in the ring and she fights. And then when they start announcing the scores, the look on her face, because it was just exactly like who she is. You could see she was like, ah. Like,
and like, also, like, she, of the 4 women on the card, is the least talented of the women. Like, as far as just her potential. And that's just how, like, it's like that in men's boxing, too. Some people have more potential. But, like, she's also a really good fighter. Like, her skill is there. Like, what she does in the ring and tries to do in the ring is good boxing. And I love...
it can be like a testament to the 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration.
I love fighters like that who have to work so hard to be at that level. And she's a former world champion herself. And, look, she just got on TV twice against 2 of the most popular and best winning fighters in the world. And I hope to see her back again, too. It was really good.